November 19th, 2025. That is the day that we will be getting Old School RuneScape's biggest update ever. It's been over 2 years now since sailing was first proposed by Jagex as a potential new skill for Old School, and it's been a long process of opinion polls, lock-in polls, alphas, betas, developer blogs, and live streams. But Jagex has announced that on November 19th, sailing will be released into the game as Old School RuneScape's first ever new skill. It's currently October 24th, the day that they announced that release date, and it's actually pretty good timing for me. In the last video, I finished the last 2 upgrades I needed to get my UIM ready for the Theater of Blood, which was going to be my next long-term grind on the account. I finished getting the Oathplate set from Yama, and I got the Ultor ring from Vardorvis, and I was just about to start planning out my Theater of Blood grind when Jagex made the sailing announcement, and that changed my plans big time. Here's the thing, I am a maxed Ultimate Iron Man. I was one of the first 500 UIMs in the game to max, but in less than a month I won't be maxed anymore, which is a weird thing to think about. With sailing coming out next month, my new goal is to get 99 sailing and remax my account. But that's in the future. Right now, I have less than a month to do everything I can to prepare my account for the launch of sailing. And right now, I think the best thing I can be doing is getting some raw GP. This isn't based on any sort of info from the devs. I think there's just, a decent chance that along the grind to 99 sailing, I'm going to be spending a lot of money. The Yama grind also wiped out a lot of my cash stack from having to buy a ton of runes, so it'll be good to get the cash stack back up. At this point in my account, the best money-making method I have with no supplies to use up, like Pure Essence or something, is Slayer, and it just so happens that a recent update reworked Slayer in some pretty interesting ways. Earlier this year, Jagex reworked Slayer to rebalance a lot of the point costs for everything, and to rework the block list system so that every Slayer master has their own block list. This means that point boosting and task skipping is now a lot easier because you can just block the really annoying Aya tasks. So to start off, I'm going to be point boosting to work on building my block lists for both Aya and Kuradal. Okay, Wolves, this is a great example of one I want to block for Aya, so I can just block this, and it only costs 40 points to do that, and now it is only blocked for Aya. I still have that block slot open for Kuradal and Konar. This is great. Oh wait, I completely forgot about this change. They actually made it so you can block tasks without getting them first, which completely changes my plans. I was gonna do a bunch of boosting, but now I don't have to. I can just block everything right now. There we go, Aya's block list is set up, and now point boosting is a lot quicker. And now for Kuradal's block list, her blocks cost 100, so this is going to burn through most of my points right here. I heard about this plugin Slayer Task Sorter, which sorts the in-game task list by weighting. Nice, that'll make it easier to block tasks. And there's Kuradal's block list done. I think I'm going to point boost with Aya and Kuradal for a bit to get some points to set up Konar's block list now. Quick tip for low-level players, when you get one of these Sarah wizards, start the fight by praying melee, then run away and attack him from a distance, and then switch to praying mage, and he'll just sit there maging you for no damage. You're welcome. Yes, I managed to get 2 Hydra tasks queued up at Konar, so that is what I'm going to be doing for a while. Hydra tasks are basically what I was going for with this grind, so yeah, the alchemical Hydra boss just prints money. I think this might be the most empty space I've ever had in my inventory for Hydra. This is great. One thing that you may be confused about is the Noxious Halberd being in my inventory, but that is actually for a reason. The special attack on it removes any poison or venom you have, and because it's so rare to get poisoned by the Hydra, I can just bring this instead of antidotes. There's a good example. I just got hit by the poison attack, so I can just swap to the Noxious Halberd. Awesome, no antidotes needed. Hydra Tail, completely useless to me. Yes, Onyx Bolts, that is so much money. Take a look at this, 48 Hydra bones on the ground, which means this was a 24 kill trip. That is nuts. For context, the Master CA for trip length is to get a 15 kill trip, and I just got 24. Alright, Hydra task number 1 is complete, up to 34 mil in the cash stack, on to task number 2. Ooh, alchemical Hydra heads, and another Hydra heads. Alright, I just finished that second Hydra task, and my cash stack is now up to just under 41 mil, and that is up from 26 mil before I started the first task, so basically I just got 15 mil cash from 2 Slayer tasks. That's how good Hydra is. I think next up I'm going to be doing some more Slayer point boosting. Since I spend a lot of points filling out those block lists and getting those Hydra tasks, I'm actually going to be doing the more extended version of point boosting that's come into style recently, where you only do the 50th task at Konar instead of every 10th task. And that's been made a lot nicer because you can block all the bad Aya tasks. For me, the next 50 task multiple is actually going to be at 500, so I'm going to be getting a big point drop once I get there. There we go, 500th task complete for 700 points and a total of 895. That wasn't really directly related to sailing prep, but it'll be nice for when I eventually go back to Slayer in the future. Plus, it gives me a bit of extra insurance for looting bags since you can just buy those with Slayer points now. The next thing I'm going to be doing is a bit of a weird one. I'm going to be doing some mahogany homes for a bit. There is a very low but non-zero chance that having access to the plank sack will be useful for training sailing, so I'm going to be doing this until I have 350 points stored up, so if I do realize that having a plank sack would help, I can just go buy it immediately. Man, this is hitting some nostalgia for me. I haven't done Mahogany Homes since literally episode 1 of this series back in April of 2023, 2.5 years ago. This activity actually got a quality of life update at some point that makes it so you can just click the construction hotspot to build whatever it needs instead of having to go through the menu and pick the right option. And there we go, just a few hours later, I now have over 350 points on my account, which means I can buy a plank sack whenever. Again, it's a really low chance it'll actually be needed for anything, but now that I have that option available, I can use that just in case. I also spent some time grinding out LMS points for looting bags because that Doom of Makayodal grind I did recently really did a number on my points. And let me tell you, right now is not a good time to be playing LMS. For those of you who didn't know, there is a big problem right now with people scripting in LMS, basically cheating by using external scripts to automatically switch to their prayers or their gear, so all they need to do is click to move around and attack the opponent. It's basically full-on botting, but that tiny little element of real user interaction helps to dodge Jagex's bot detection. It's really unfortunate, especially for UIMs, because LMS points and Slayer points are the only quote-unquote safe ways to get looting bags if you are currently death banked, and I'm hoping that Jagex finally gets word of this happening and puts some attention into beefing up their detection of this kind of stuff. Good morning! Today Jagex put out a blog with a lot of sailing prep advice, which is pretty good timing, because I happen to be prepping for sailing. This blog has actually given me a few ideas for more things to prep, so I guess here is a rapid-fire rundown of all the stuff I'm working on before sailing releases. First up, the log basket. I already got the points for the plank sack, but I didn't really think about the log basket maybe being useful too. Plus, it's storable in the POH, so it is basically a permanent unlock. The log basket is a reward from the forestry minigame, which, yes, if you know me, you know I have a lot of opinions about this minigame, but for now, I just need to engage enough with it to get 5,000 anima-infused bark. Now, if I'm understanding this right, one of the best places to get anima-infused bark is south of Draenor Village on a forestry world, because there's a bunch of trees in the area with a lot of people chopping each one. So this is basically how it works. Every so often, a forestry event appears and you do a tiny little micro game to get a bit of anima-infused bark. So I'm going to be sitting here doing as many events as I can until I have 5,000 bark. Okay, I actually decided to move to the Priv Teaks and Mahoganies since these are going to give a lot more events per hour, I think, because there's just as many trees, but way more people. Cool, there's the 5,000 anima-infused bark, and now it's time for the other part of this process, because it's not just the 5,000 bark you need, you also need 300 oak logs and 300 willow logs, and normally those logs would have to be noted, which is actually a bit of a problem for UIMs, because you can't just chop the logs and then note them somehow. You'd have to do non-woodcutting methods to get the logs in their noted form, which goes against the whole spirit of the minigame. And in the most extreme examples, it's entirely unreasonable for UIMs to get some of the rewards, like the funky shaped log, which is a transmog for the beaver pet and requires a bunch of noted redwood logs, which are not easy to come by. But thankfully, sometime after Forestry came out, Jagex actually put in a change to address this. You can now deposit unnoted logs at the Friendly Forester to earn credit towards the Forestry rewards. So that means I just have to chop like 11 inventories of each type of log and deposit them, which is much easier than having to go get noted drops. And there we go, the log basket. This functions just like the plank sack, but for logs, and unlike the plank sack, this one is storable in the POH, so if I ever need to use this for 99 sailing, I can just pull it out. Next up, I want to get some of the supplies that the blog said might be useful for upgrading the ship. Some of them are going to be really easy to get on demand, like swamp paste and rope, which you can buy from shops, or metal bars, which you can make pretty easily at the blast furnace, but it may be useful to stock up on some of the ones that are more difficult to get easily. First up is swamp tar, which I'm getting in bulk from the Moon's Apparel. It's a 1 in 7.5 chance to get between 79 and 119 swamp tar, and you get 6 rolls per chest, so that means on average I'm getting about 80 swamp tar per chest, which is pretty great. There we go. I think 1,000 swamp tar should be way more than I would ever need for anything, and this is going to be a constant across all of these, actually. I think it's very unlikely that I'll need a ton of this stuff, but I want to have it on hand so I don't have to spend a bunch of time gathering supplies when I'm trying to be sailing. Next up, I'm going to be getting 1,000 noted flax, which thankfully is one of the drops on the Zulrah drop table. Exactly 1,000 noted flax at a rate of 1 in 24.9, which you get 2 rolls per kill, so I basically got to do about 12 kills on average to get the drop. And yes, my inventory is super scuffed, but it's going to be a pretty quick grind, so it doesn't really matter that much. Wait, Zulrah drops 1,000 swamp tar. Oh my god, I'm a moron, and I did a bunch of moons for no reason. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. 2 mil for the main. More swamp tar, the game is just laughing at me now. Hey, bruh. I'm looking for flax. What the fuck? Dude, I have so much swamp tar now. There we go, 1,000 noted flax and another 1,000 swamp tar for the road. Nice. Next up is a lot of stuff related to smithing. Sailing and smithing are going to be pretty closely linked with a lot of ship upgrades coming from metal bars. So I'm going to be trying to get a lot of bars from a boss that I've never done before, Zalcano. I'm going to be doing it in masses, which probably isn't the best choice for loot per hour, but it's something that I can do easily and without having to get a group together or join a group where I'll have to be focusing and not messing up. Zalcano is a skilling boss, and you fight it by mining this stuff called tephra, smelting it, imbuing it, and throwing it at the boss to deplete its armor bar, and then mining it to deal actual damage. It's a really simple fight, so I'm not going to go too in-depth here. I'm also not sure exactly how long I want to stay here, but I'll see what the loot is looking like and I'll go from there. Oh, Zalcano has CAs. Perfect Zalcano. And Zalcano Veteran for 25 KC. The Spurned Hero, that's for getting MVP on a kill. Okay, I've been at this for a while, and I think I'm gonna try doing some small group runs. The mass worlds really do not give that much loot since there's so many people to divide the loot between, and hopefully doing it in smaller groups should boost the loot per hour a lot. I took a look at the skill guide for sailing, which they actually put in the game ahead of time, and it turns out you're gonna need a ton of bars for all the different ship upgrades. And there's the last CA for killing the golem ad, nice. God, 12 rune ore, small team Zalcano is so good. And there we go. It has been a while since the last clip, since I decided to just lock myself to Zalcano until I reached 500 combined rune ores and rune bars, and now I've finally reached that point after nearly 700 KC. This should be enough to make pretty much everything I need to in terms of materials that are already in the game, although I'll still need to collect some of the new materials they're adding with sailing, like lead and nickel bars, as well as some new tiers of hardwood like rosewood and ironwood. And that actually ties into what I want to do next. Oh my god, it worked. So here's the deal. I don't like forestry. I've made it pretty clear the last time I was here, but I've decided to go back to doing some forestry specifically because I've heard some rumors about a secret method that'll probably get patched soon. It's really simple. You just find a magic tree that's out of the way like this so you're less likely to run into other players. You chop the tree for a few seconds and then you hop to the next world. You do this for something like 20 worlds and then hop back to the first one and chop the tree until you get a log. For some reason, I guess there's a bug with how the tree timers work right now. The first log you get is guaranteed to chop the tree down, and that action of cutting the tree down gives you a roughly 1 in 3 chance to get a forestry event. And by doing this method, you get way more forestry events than you would otherwise get. I'm going to be doing this for a while to stock up on anima-infused bark, specifically to use on sawmill vouchers. These things are probably going to be pretty nice for sailing because they basically double the speed of getting planks. Each voucher basically lets you get 2 planks from 1 log, and that'll be nice when I'm having to chop a lot of logs and then turn them into planks to build things on the ship. Oh, hey, the fox whistle. It's pretty rare, and you can only get it from this one event. The fox whistle is a transmog for the beaver pet, which I happen to have. There we go, it's a fox now. Dude, are you kidding me? There's the other pet transmog you can get from an event. This time it's the golden pheasant egg. I'm literally just here for bark, and I'm somehow getting all the uniques too. Okay, so just like the fox whistle, you can use it on the beaver pet, or in my case, the fox. Cool, and now it's a pheasant, and I can swap between these at will, so I think I'm just gonna leave it on the fox for now. Cool, I just checked the amount of bark I have and did a bunch of math on the plank requirements for sailing, and I think I have enough bark now that I can get enough vouchers for any possible core boat part that I could need. Nice. I think that is everything I need to do. It's getting pretty close to launch day, and my inventory space is already really constrained right now, and anything else I could do for prep would eat into that even more, so I think this is going to be as far as I go for prep. Now, there is one more thing that some of you may be thinking of already, which is what's going to happen with the Max Cape, and thankfully Jagex has made it pretty clear. When sailing drops, I won't be able to equip my Max Cape or use any of the features on it, and if I have it pulled out of the cape rack like I do almost all the time, I won't be able to put it back. It's kind of like what happens with the quest cape or the achievement diary cape when a new quest comes out, and the same goes for the other capes I've unlocked the transmogs for, like the Infernal Max Cape, the Assembler Max Cape, and the Imbued Zamorak Max Cape. Now, Jagex said they're going to be providing a way to undo the transmog for those, so it's not like I'm losing my Infernal Cape until I get 99 sailing, but that said, if I do that, I'll have to spend another 2.2 million GP for each cape to re-transmog it, and I don't really want to do that, so I'm going to be treating it as if I have lost access to those capes. They're going to be staying on the cape rack until I am remaxed, and that's not really going to be a problem, because getting 99 sailing will be my priority. I'm not going to be doing any long-term PVM until I'm maxed again, so it doesn't really matter. As for the other features on the max cape, I already have all the other skill capes and I can still use those, so while I'm getting 99 sailing, I will mainly be using the construction cape to get around. And the final thing I need to do is simply park my account at Port Sarim and wait. I'll see you on launch day. Good morning, it is November 19th and sailing is here. Everyone's here in Port Sarim because that's where you start the Pandemonium quest, which is the tutorial quest that unlocks sailing and gives you your first boat. Okay, I just got my first sailing level, level 2, and I'm actually going to check something. Oh my god, I'm rank 42. That is nuts. So that is something I'll be keeping an eye on this whole time. For the first time in OSRS history, the level cap has been raised, which means I can gain ranks really easily by just gaining sailing levels. Okay, quest complete, and that is level 5. So let's check again. Oh my god, I'm on the front page for UIMs. This won't last, and it's probably the one and only time I will ever be a front page UIM, so I'm gonna savor that. The main training method that everyone's gonna be doing at the start is port tasks, and these courier tasks are the most simple. You just take cargo from port A to port B, and you get a sailing XP drop. I'm taking a bit of a detour to talk to Charton Charles over here, since he's the guy who gives you the spyglass and really unlocks sea charting. Charting is a bit of a weird training method because it's a one-time thing. There's all these little points of interest all over the map, and you chart them to get one-time XP drops. Plus, if you chart everything in a given area, you get a bunch of bonus XP. Chart a treacherous rock formation, look at the wizard's tower through the spyglass, find a shipwreck, and use the salvaging station. Cool, that is the Bay of Sarim fully charted, and you also unlock some rapids in the area for doing that, but I can't actually use those yet until I make a better helm for the ship. Caridian Sea fully charted, and that is level 10. Lumbridge Basin fully charted for level 11, and I'll actually relog to check my high scores placement. Yes, I managed to get top 10. That is incredible. Again, it doesn't really mean anything since I'll lose this spot immediately and never get it again, but for a brief moment, I was a top 10 UIM in the entire game. Mudskipper Sound charted, and that is level 12, which actually unlocks a new quest, so let's go do that. Cool, Prying Times is done. That is basically the tutorial for opening crates at sea, so now that's something I can do for charting, and that also gave me 15 sailing, which is pretty big because that unlocks a new type of boat. There we go, the skiff, which is the medium-sized boat. This one's going to be a lot nicer than the raft since it has way more spots to build things on, but the raft might still be more useful for getting to certain places. I also went ahead and got the stuff to build a bronze salvaging hook, and there we go. That unlocks shipwreck salvaging, and I'll show you what that's about later. This is a cool little meta I found, where you can get 2 port tasks to basically make a round trip between Port Sarim and Musa Point, and then when you get to Musa Point, you turn in one of them, and then pick up another one for going back to Port Sarim. And then when you get back to Port Sarim, you have 2 tasks to turn in. It's basically 3 port tasks for a full round trip, which seems pretty good. Cool, I just built the Iron Helm, which should let me start using those rapids I've been unlocking. Okay, cool, it speeds up the ship when you go over them. Nice. Remington Strait charted, Catherby Bay charted. I think right now I'm going to take some time to try out that shipwreck salvaging method since I need to AFK for a bit. Cool, so you just park by one of these shipwrecks and deploy the hook. Nice, every so often you get a piece of salvage and a bit of XP. You can also take the salvage to port and sort through it to get some items, but I would rather just drop them since the AFK XP is what I care about. 20 sailing, that unlocks Catherby and actually gives me a nice upgrade, which I'll do here in a moment. Cool, the oak hull that increases my ship's HP, and later hulls are going to speed up the boat, which will help a ton. Whoops, I forgot to save the recording, but that is Current Affairs done, which is a silly little quest that gives me access to current charting and a lot of sailing XP. Oak mast and linen sails that increases the speed boost from trimming them, and the iron keel that doubles the armor on the ship. Brimhaven Passage charted. Ooh, shark paint. That is a cosmetic unlock. Let's use that real quick. Awesome, a shark trim. It basically colors the trim of the boat here. Nice. Okay, so something I just got the unlock for is the steel salvaging hook, but one of the requirements on it is lead bars. Lead is one of the new materials that got added with sailing, and you can get it here in this cave on the Pandemonium. Nice. Cool, the steel salvaging hook. This basically acts like a higher tier axe or pickaxe. It speeds up the process of salvaging. I also unlocked fisherman shipwrecks at some point, which are basically the equivalent of like higher tiers of trees or rocks. There is 28 sailing, which unlocks a third port task slot, which is nice. It also unlocks ship combat with a bronze cannon, but I don't think I'll be doing that anytime soon. Strait of Khazard charted. Alright, level 30, that's a big milestone, and I am about to show you why. Ooh, genie, these actually matter again. Actually, never mind, they don't, because Jagex kept the sailing option disabled on XP lamps to keep people from stacking them up for launch day. So this is the Temper Tantrum, one of 3 Barracuda trials in the game, and the first point where I'll start getting some real XP. This is a minigame where you have to sail through a pretty complex route, picking up supplies along the way and avoiding these storm clouds. There are different ranks you can go for, and the higher ranks give more XP and rewards, but require more supplies and involve more laps. They also have tighter timers, so it's really a test of your ship movement skills. Oh my god, that's a lot of XP. That was one run on the lowest ranking. Well, there's 31 sailing and a stormy key. Okay, cool. You use the stormy key to open this chest on Pandemonium and you get a nice little cosmetic outfit. Also, because I got 31 sailing, I unlocked the teak hull, which I'm making immediately, because that actually increases the base speed of my boat by 1/3, which will be really nice for the Temper Tantrum. I also went ahead and bought the plank sack for this, and because that's untradeable and unstorable, it is basically going to be in my inventory for the whole 99 sailing grind. Oh, okay, you get a big XP drop for your first completion of a rank. That makes a lot more sense. So it's not that full XP drop every time, but apparently it's still really good XP, so I'm going to be here for a while getting my level up. Cool, I got shark rank and I got a barrel stand for it. You can use that to make a keg on the boat, so I'll see if that's worth doing sometime later. And there we go, Marlin rank for Ralph's fabric roll. That was my first try too. I think they made this a lot more lenient compared to the alpha, even after factoring in the speed boost from the teak hull. I think they also made the hitboxes way more generous on the supplies, which was really needed. That fabric roll can be used to make a flag, which I'll go ahead and do now. Cool, it is purely cosmetic, but it shows off that I beat the hardest version of the Temper Tantrum. Ah shit, I just looked up this new thing I unlocked, the teak mast and canvas sails, and apparently canvas is something you have to make with hemp, which you grow from seeds, and that is the only way to get it. I think I'm gonna not bother going for that for now, since all it does is increase the speed boost duration, and it might take a while to get some of those seeds, especially when the drop rates aren't known yet. I'll stay on the oak mast and linen sails, probably at least until I unlock the mahogany version. Another big milestone here, 38 sailing, so I can make a steel helm, but more importantly, it gives access to sea depth charting, which lets me finish off all the sea charting in this major area of the game. Here's that steel helm, which I think just lets me sail through higher level areas, and now to go and finish all that charting. Gutenhof Bay charted, Beldip Gulf charted, Karazi Strait charted. Okay, never mind, it looks like there's some charting stuff that you need the inoculation station to do it, which requires level 40. I'll get back to that later then. Back to the Temper Tantrum. Cool, there's 40 sailing, let's go make that inoculation station. Inoculation station done, which I think literally just allows me to enter those diseasey waters. And I'll also make the steel keel since I unlocked that recently as well, and that makes my boat a bit more beefy. I'm also gonna go get Jobless Jim, the first crewmate I unlocked at 40 sailing. Crewmates are basically Jagex's answer to the fact that it is difficult for Iron Man accounts to handle all the different boat functions simultaneously. So for example, I can put him on sails duty and he'll automatically trim the sails for me when they're available to be trimmed. Ooglog channel charted. Arrow Passage charted, Simian Sea charted. Also, I forgot to record charting the Menophyte Sea as well, so that one's done too. And with this last one, the Storm Temper and the entirety of the Ardent Ocean have been fully charted. Apparently, you need to go back to Chart and Charles to get the full reward for this, so I am on my way back to Pandemonium. There we go, 5k XP drop, nice. Whoa, so apparently after charting a bunch of stuff, you can actually get kegs in your ship that give you permanent buffs, and one of them is a 2.5% XP buff to sailing. Yes, please. Let's go make that keg. There's the keg. Okay, and there's the keg full of Horizon's Lure, so that is a passive 2.5% buff to all sailing XP. Banker's Draught. Nah, it just deals 9 damage to UIMs. At some point in the last couple levels, I also unlocked the onboard salvaging station, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and make that too. This one's a bit weird because you actually need to find a schematic first, which is on Chinchompa Island. You have to get a key from Pandemonium, but once you have that, you can open the chest here for the schematic. And there's the onboard salvaging station. This is really nice because it means I can actually get the rewards from salvaging easily instead of having to bring them into a port first. So let's see how this works. Cool, it's just like the salvaging station in a port, but now it's right here. This is a soft requirement for UIMs to really get anything from salvage except XP, because they arbitrarily restricted the cargo hold really hard for basically no reason. Ooh, a boat bottle. I'm not sure how useful that'll be, but it's basically a one-time use item, I think, that puts your entire boat into your inventory, so you can move it to another port without having to actually sail there. And there is a mithril salvaging hook, nice little upgrade there. There we go, 45 sailing. That's going to be another big quest unlock. All right, Troubled Tortugans, let's do it. Yeah, this is the quest that introduces griffins, one of the new enemies they added with the sailing update. I'm probably not going to be doing too much of the side content unless it's needed for ship upgrades and stuff. Yo, I'm a turtle. And here's the Griffin boss, which again, I'm not going to worry about unless it's needed for actual sailing activities. And there we go, that is the last of the new quests. They're going to be adding more to continue the Tortugan storyline, but that won't be until next year. Oh, hey, the Sailor's Amulet. That can be charged up with runes to let you teleport to the Pandemonium. I'll probably get some good use from that. Alright, I have been AFKing here at the Barracuda Shipwrecks for a few hours this evening, and I think this is going to end up being my last level of day 1, 50 sailing. This unlocks some big stuff, but I'll explain all that tomorrow. Good morning, it is day 2. I've been doing a bit of salvaging this morning, and that is 51 sailing to start off the day. The last few levels I've gotten hold some pretty big upgrades for me. I have unlocked the Mahogany Hull, a new crewmate, and most importantly, the biggest and best type of boat, the sloop. So before I get training, I'm going to spend some time getting all these unlocks handled. First off, let's buy this sloop, the Fowl Hunter, nice. Although it sounds like it's just shooting turkeys. Next up, I'm going to get that Mahogany Hull done. For now, I'm just going to focus on upgrades to the sloop, though eventually I'll go back and get the upgrades done for the smaller boats too, so I'll have the option to use those. Okay, finally, that's all the stuff needed for the Mahogany Hull. That requires a grand total of 400 mahogany planks to be made into hull parts and 600 mithril nails to be made. This is where all that prep is coming in handy. I decided to just go and do the Mahogany Hull for the skiff too, since I'm already death banked and it's way less materials than the sloop. Okay, I think I finally have everything added to the sloop that I had added to the skiff. The only thing that's not upgraded on it is the sails, because I'm going to be unlocking the Mahogany Mast and Canvas sails in just one level, and Canvas is really difficult to come by. Also, I'm going to recruit that new crewmate now, ex-Captain Syad in the Desert Mining Camp. He's got slightly better stats than Jobless Jim, so Jim is going to once again be jobless. There we go, 52 sailing on the skiff, because the sloop still has the base sails, and now I can go ahead and make the Mahogany Mast and Canvas sails. You make canvas from hemp, and hemp is a new farming product that is really difficult to find the seeds for, but I did manage to get some from salvaging, and now I can reap the rewards, literally. Oh, actually, this is a bit of a problem, because apparently hemp gives you way fewer per set of seeds than all the other types of hops. Either that or I got really unlucky here, so I think I'm just going to hold on to these and wait to make the sails until I can get some more. Okay, so here's the play, I think. I've received some info that large shipwrecks are a decent way to get hemp seeds, but I can't do those for another level, so I think I'm going to try something out here. Oh my god, it works. Because I have the keg on the ship, I can use that keg to get infinite sailing boosts, so I can just salvage the large shipwrecks indefinitely. Well, this is a development. Apparently, they have just now put in a change to block people from using the Keg of Horizons lure, and I think that's because they screwed up the original requirement. It's now saying that the requirement isn't 70 total charted objects, it's 70 Cs, as in basically the entire logbook completed. So I guess I'll just finish off this level, the Temper Tantrum, and come back then. There we go, 53 for real, no boosting needed. And I guess now that I can't use the Keg of Horizons lure anymore, I'll fill it up with the Whirlpool one you can buy from Pandemonium. This one only gives a +3 boost compared to the +4 from Horizons lure, and instead of giving you a 2.5% XP boost, it boosts your crew's stats slightly. And now that I've gotten some more hemp seeds from doing some salvaging, I've gotten enough hemp to make the sails on both ships. That's going to make the speed boost last even longer now. And because I'm already death banked, I guess I might as well make some of the upgrades I can boost for using that keg. Here is a mithril keel for more HP and armor. Here's a mithril helm, which lets me use higher level rapids. And here is a teleport focus, which lets me teleport my boat to different ports for free, though it does wipe the cargo hold when I do that, since otherwise I would be able to spam port tasks that way. I feel like I've been doing more construction than sailing recently. Alright, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do some more charting. Here is the Pearl Bank charted, Bay of Eledness charted, Tortugan Sea charted, Sea of Shells charted, Anglerfish's Light charted, and I've played Outer Wilds, I am not getting close to that. Lonely Sea charted, 55 Sailing, which is a pretty big unlock I'll be getting into pretty soon, Red Reef charted, and finally the Turtle Belt charted, along with the entirety of the Unquiet Ocean for a 6k XP drop once I turn this into Chart and Charles. Yeah!
I hear an excited meow. Oh, Sailing Cat!
Yo!
Holy shit.
Misty Sea charted, Sunset Bay charted, and there's Dusk's Maw charted, which was the last one in the Sunset Ocean. That was a smaller one, but it's still a nice little XP bump once I turned it into Chart and Charles. It's also 56 Sailing. I also unlocked the second Barracuda trial, the Jubbly Jive. Apparently this one is a lot harder than the Temper Tantrum, so I'm gonna just do my best to figure it out. Okay, cool, that is the first difficulty done, and that got me the Fetid Key. Just like the Stormy one, that is for some cosmetics that I can't store, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Okay, I didn't meet the time there, but I did get enough XP for level 57, which is nice. Still gotta work on meeting that time, though. That might be it. This should be it.
Yeah.
As long as it gets there in time, which it may not. Oh my god, you're kidding me. Oh, that's
robbery.
Come on, do it. Yes, I got it. Christ, that was bad. So needless to say, I'm not going to be going for the Marlin rank, at least for now, since that's mostly a cosmetic reward. And yes, you do get the 10k reward, but at this point, I need to do some other stuff and not bash my head against what will end up being an even more difficult version of the trial. I have the wind mote from the shark rank, which is what matters, and I'm about to show you why. The Wind Catcher, and yes, I had to do some pretty big item juggling, because the wind mote is deleted on death, which is really annoying because it means you can't death bank or death pile with it in the inventory. So here's how it works. When you have the Wind Catcher active, instead of instantly getting a boost when you trim the sails, you basically get to save up to 2 of these boosts and use them whenever you want. Doing that also gives you more XP and interacts with some special mechanics. I also got the level for the Adamant Salvaging Hook, which is the first thing to use the new camphor trees. It's the next tier of hardwood above mahogany, and as of now, it is only available on the Great Conch where the Tortugan quest was. I'm spending some more time AFKing at the pirate shipwrecks in search of more hemp seeds, since I know there's going to be one more tier of sails I need to make. That's the last one that uses canvas, which is the one that's made out of hemp, but unfortunately the next one up is even worse, since that one's made of cotton and that's even rarer. Good morning, gamers. Day 3 begins, and I'm thinking it's going to be a really good day because, for one, I managed to get 12 hemp seeds from AFKing yesterday, so I'm going to go plant those now and never have to worry about canvas sails again. One other unlock I glossed over yesterday was weather charting at 57 Sailing, which is really big because that is the last requirement for sea charting. And yes, certain seas are still going to be blocked off until I get some other upgrades, but in terms of the actual types of charting events, I can do all of them now. So I think today is just going to be one big sea charting day for the most part. I'm starting off with the Shrouded Ocean, which I know I can't fully complete right now, but I'll be able to get most of the charts in it, and that should hopefully get me to a high enough level to start thinking about some of the higher level ones. Breakbone Strait. Okay, so here's where these drink ones can really, either cause a problem or potentially be really useful, because you can sort of stack them, so the ones with negative effects you can just all get done at once. So I know one of these is going to poison me and disease me, one of them is going to venom me, and one of them is going to deal a lot of damage. But I think when I drink all of these, I'll probably get the level to disembark here and do that one. So let's just see what happens. So this should be the damage one. Boom, 33. Yep. This should be the one that venoms me. Yes. For 6. Okay, and this is the one that diseases me and poisons me. My health orb is freaking out, but that's 61 sailing, which means I can disembark here and then grab this one, and there we go. Okay, that was 3 out of 4 actually, so there's one other somewhere. I'll get that later because I gotta heal up. But yeah, that is Backwater and Zul Eagle fully charted. Sea of Souls, Soul Bay, the Everdeep, man, what the fuck is that? Sapphire Sea, Worms Waters and 62 Sailing, Orium Coast, and now I'm in the Abyss, Western Gate, Letus Lucius, and now I'm in Port Sarum. Crystal Sea, oh yeah, I should mention this, I unlocked Port Roberts at level 50, that's actually another place where you can teleport with the Sailor's Amulet, and it'll probably become pretty useful for some stuff later when I start getting into ship combat. Pilgrim's Passage, Crabclaw Bay, Great Sound, Obsidian Sea, Gulf of Corinth, Lunar Bay, and now I'm in the Barbarian Outpost. The Moon Shadow, Fremensund for 63 sailing, Fremennik Strait, and with that 63 sailing, I can get this one on Windtember Island to complete the Barracuda Belt, and that one actually unlocks an emote, the Crab Dance. 63 sailing lets me boost for an adamant keel, and the adamant keel actually lets me enter these crystal waters to pick up some more charts, like this one to finish Vagabond's Rest. Okay, but apparently the ones where you have to actually interact with it won't let you do it until you actually have the level for real. So I think because of that, I'll just go back to the Jubbly Jive and grind out some levels so I can finish off the Western Ocean. Okay, so I figured out the play. I got level 64 from doing the Shark Run, since you don't have to meet the time to get the base XP, and that puts me in boosting range for the Camphor Hull. The Camphor Hull increases my base speed pretty significantly, and I think I may be able to use that to make it viable to get the Marlin rank of the Jubbly Jive. That should be it. Come on. Eat the fucking toadsy. Let's go! Marlin 65. Oh my god, that was rough. Alright, there we go, 66 sailing, which means I meet the actual requirements to chart everything in the Crystal area, and by extension, the Western Ocean. Piscatora Sea, Porth Niguil, Turanwin Bight, and there we go, Porth Gwyneth charted, completing the entire Western Ocean. Man, 20,000 bonus XP, that is so good. Okay, it looks like there's actually a set of miscellaneous charts that count as their own ocean, and supposedly I have the level to go get all of those, so I'm gonna do that now. And there's the last one. It was a pretty big scavenger hunt, since these miscellaneous ones can be anywhere in the game, but now they are all handled. And the reward for getting all the miscellaneous ones is 15,000 XP. I'm going to be spending the rest of the day AFK salvaging at pirate shipwrecks, which I unlocked back at level 64. These don't have a chance for hemp or cotton seeds, but that shouldn't matter because I don't really need hemp anymore, and I won't need cotton until level 83, and by then I will have access to the next tier of shipwreck, which does drop cotton seeds. Good morning. Today is going to be an interesting day because there's literally no more seed charting I can do right now. Everything is locked behind level 72 to enter areas with tangled kelp, and then level 78 for areas with icy seas. I think I'm going to head to the Jubbly Jive to grab a level or two and think about what I want to do next. There we go, 69 sailing, and now I have some upgrades to do. First off, the final tier of canvas sails made with camphor. This one apparently gives an acceleration bonus, so I'll see if that makes things smoother at the Jubbly Jive. And secondly, I can now boost to make an adamant helm, which does let me go into tangled kelp areas, but I can't do all the charts there until I actually have level 72 for real. I'm also going to recruit a couple of crewmates I unlocked. First off, the Ghost of Cabin Boy Jenkins, and secondly, Oarswoman Olga, and now I'm going to head back to the Jubbly Jive since that is the best training method I have right now. Alright, I think I found something pretty fun to play around with here, and it has to do with port tasks and how the XP works. It's designed with the intention that you're going to be stacking up multiple additional tasks and doing round trips and stuff. So if you get a task from a port that has you bringing cargo there from somewhere else, it gives double the XP because you're making a round trip. But you don't really have to do that round trip, because you can just teleport to the other port and summon the boat there, skipping one half of that trip. So for this method, I'm taking a task in Prif to deliver cargo from Alderaan. I grab the task, I teleport to Alderaan, load up the ship, and bring it all back to Prif, and that's getting me around 70 or 80k XP per hour, so a little bit less than the Jubbly Jive, but way more chill since you're just sailing across the ocean instead of doing an obstacle course. I finally lost the task. These tasks periodically shuffle on the board, and that is the downside of this method. That said, I am really close to 72, so I'm just going to do some easy tasks to make up the difference. Here's one other neat thing. I am doing this port task to go to Deep Fen Point, and that is actually the third and final location I can teleport to with the amulet now, which is pretty neat. There we go, 72 sailing, and that is a big one because it lets me finish off the Shrouded Ocean for charting, so let's do that. Rainbow Reef and the Southern Expanse completing the Shrouded Ocean. The other really big unlock with 72 sailing is the third and final Barracuda trial, the Gwyneth Glide. And this is a big deal because not only does it give a lot of XP for completing it, the Shark tier unlock is also a really important item for efficient training in the future. There we go, Swordfish rank. As you can see, that took 14 tries, not including resets, on the easiest difficulty, so needless to say, this one's a bit difficult. Nice, Shark rank was somehow a lot easier to get a feel for. That is 74 sailing, but more importantly, the Heart of Ithel, which I'm going to use to make a very important upgrade. The Crystal Extractor. This is a big one. Whenever it's on the boat, it generates a wind note every 60 seconds for the wind catcher. This means you get an extra boost every 60 seconds, which is nice on its own, but more importantly, harvesting that wind note gives you 600 XP. So if you're doing that on cooldown, that is an extra 36,000 XP per hour added to any other method in the game just by clicking the extractor every 60 seconds. So basically everything I do in the game is now plus 36k XP per hour. I'm also using this opportunity to add the rune salvaging hook, which should help for AFKing. Good morning. As you can see, I have been AFKing a lot last night and this morning, and I'm starting to get pretty close to 78 sailing, which is going to be a very important level, so let's get that closed out. I'm doing this port task method again, and this is a great example of where that crystal extractor comes in handy. Previously, I was getting about 70 or 80k an hour doing this, but with the crystal extractor, I'm going to be getting over 100k XP an hour. And there it is, 78 sailing, which unlocks sea charting and icy seas, which is the final requirement for sea charting. I'm going to need to make one more ship upgrade for this, so I'll see when that's ready. There we go, the Eternal Brazier, which keeps the ship safe in the far north where everything's icy. Let's get this logbook cleared out. Everwinter Sea, this is where the XP drops really start to get good for charting. Winter's Edge, Lunar Sea, Kamsky Tides, V's Belt, Stoneheart Sea, Edestia Strait for 79 sailing, Weissmere, Shiverwake Expanse, Grand Route Bay, somehow I missed that one before. That's also probably the last time I'm ever gonna use a raft for anything. And finally, the Weissmelt. And now there's one more thing to do before I'm done with sea charting forever. Chartin' Charles, I have completed the entire logbook. 35k for completing the Northern Ocean and 100,000 XP for completing all the sea charts in the game. And also in this process, I did hit the requirement to get Horizon's Lure again after they raised the requirements, so I'm going to set that up in my boats for a 2.5% global boost to sailing XP. Alright, it has been a little bit, and I've been working on a lot of ship upgrades before I move on and start training again. I've upgraded the cargo hold to ironwood on both my ships, and added a second salvaging hook on the sloop, which is going to help improve my salvaging setup once I get back to that. I've also added 2 rune cannons to the sloop, because I think I'm going to start getting into ship combat a little bit soon. Cannonballs are traditionally really hard to come by on an Iron Man, but there's actually a shop at Port Roberts that sells mithril ones, which is probably what I'm going to be using forever on this account. I'm also recruiting a couple new crewmates I've unlocked. First, Jittery Jim in Port Khazard, and secondly, Bosom Zara in Etsateria. The thing I'm going for right now is the Gale Catcher, which is an upgraded version of the Wind Catcher, but one of the things that you need for that is swift albatross wings. So that's why I built those cannons. It's finally time to start doing some ship combat. First off, I'm going to check around and see if I can get a bounty task for albatross kills, since that'll let me get some sailing XP while I do this. Okay, I have been working on this for a bit, and man, this is clunky. The cannons are on opposite sides of the ship, so you have to specifically attack 2 enemies that are on opposite sides of the ship. But both crewmates that you have manning the cannons will try and target the one you selected most recently. So what you have to do is click one of them, and then disable that crewmate's option to listen to your targeting, and then click the other one. In the meantime, you can be attacking as well with normal weapons, but the damage gets scaled down. And when you kill them, you have to do this long animation to get the loot. I feel like this is going to be a long, awkward process, but it will be worth it to get the Gale Catcher upgrade. I've discovered a bit of a better strat for this, which is that you can sort of wiggle your ship like this to attack one enemy at a time, but have both cannons attacking it on cooldown. It's a bit nicer since you don't have to do anything on the sailing interface, but man, this is silly. Oh my god, that is the last one. I know I got slightly lucky for that since it's 1 in 30 and I got 10 in less than 300 kills, but man, that felt like a slog. I'm probably never going to be doing ship combat again, at least before 99. Okay, there it is, the Gale Catcher. It literally just adds an extra speed boost that you can store compared to the Wind Catcher. This was totally a waste of time that I was just in too deep after the first hour, and I had to do 6 more hours to make up for it. So this is why I decided to make that second rune salvaging hook. When you have 2 salvaging hooks on a boat, you and a crewmate can both salvage at the same time, giving you a lot more XP than you would get normally. The drawback to all this, for UIMs at least, is that all the salvage from the crewmate goes directly into the cargo hold, which has single-digit capacity for UIMs, so you do have to empty it out more frequently than on a non-UIM, but it is still a good AFK method. Optimal 2-hook salvaging, along with using the crystal extractor on cooldown, can give you upwards of 100k XP per hour with not a lot of effort spent at all. Good morning, I have reached 83 sailing here at the Gwyneth Glide, and this is a big level, because if I'm understanding things right, this is basically the level I need to make all my ship upgrades I'm going to want for 99 sailing. So I guess it's time to go ahead and knock all those out. First off, the Ironwood Hull, no speed increase on this one, but it's a pretty significant HP buff. The Rune Keel that increases the HP and armor of the ship. The Rune Helm that's going to let me go through level 3 rapids, which actually don't even exist right now, but I might as well make this, just in case they add some soon. And finally, the Ironwood Mast and Cotton Sails, which makes my speed boosts last longer. And with these upgrades, these will be the boats that I take all the way to 99. This also let me drop a lot of the supplies I've been hoarding for ship upgrades, so the Swamp Tar, Steel Bars, Myth Bars, Addy Bars, the Plank Sack, and any extra Sawmill vouchers I had left over are now out of the inventory, and I also dropped the Cannonballs I was holding onto since I can buy those back really easily, and I don't think I'll be doing any ship combat anytime soon, so my AFK salvaging has just gotten a lot more AFK. I should also mention there are higher tier ship upgrades in the game, but they are all things that require dragon components, which are almost exclusively obtainable from PVM activities, not from actual sailing training. So because of that, I'm going to be skipping out on those because what I have now should be enough to get me to 99 pretty easily. There we go, with 6 seconds to spare too. That is the Marlin rank done on the Gwyneth Glide. That one was pretty rough, but I finally got it done. And here's what the flag looks like for this one. It proves that I beat the hardest Barracuda trial in the game on the hardest difficulty. And at this point, I feel like there's not too much else to say about the training, really. My high intensity training method is going to be running the Gwyneth Glide for 15k sailing XP every completion, since I don't need to worry about making the time anymore, and my AFK method will be salvaging at the best tier of shipwreck that I have access to, and it'll be those methods all the way to 99. Last level of the night, 85 sailing. The biggest thing this unlocks is a new crewmate, Jolly Jim, and I'll go recruit him for completion, but the crewmates don't really matter that much anymore, since Cabin Boy Jenkins is the only one that really matters for anything XP related, since he's the best for salvaging like this, and I can't use crewmates for the Gwyneth Glide at all. Good morning, here's 86 sailing for the Dragon Salvaging Hook, which I will not be getting because it requires lots and lots of dragon stuff. I just realized I never really showed this off, but this is how I'm doing the Gwyneth Glide grind. I'm using the Artist Paint plugin to just draw the route through the course, which makes this grind way more chill than it was before. I don't really need to worry about remembering the route or following along with a video or anything. I can just follow the line and make sure I grab all the boxes on the way, use my boosts when they run out, and click the crystal extractor on cooldown, and that gives me 200k sailing XP per hour, which is a lot for a method like this. Usually you need to be using tick manipulation or spending a ton of GP to get rates like this. Had to stop by for Rinko Lover's Max Party, the 5th UIM to Remax, and the first bagless UIM to Remax.
Would it be rude for me to ask Derek when's the next video? Your max party?
That's so awesome.
I'm not gonna do it because I think it would be kind of rude. But
there's 87 sailing. The big unlock there is the final tier of salvaging from merchant shipwrecks. 88 sailing, no unlocks there. 89 sailing for the Rosewood cargo hold, which again I won't be making because it requires a lot of PVMing. Good morning, it has been 1 week since sailing launched, and Jagex just put out their first game update since then, and thankfully it looks like none of it really applies to what I'm doing. The biggest change is that they fixed the awful performance issues of the Jubbly Jive trial, and patched a couple exploits where people were getting Marlin times easier, which I wasn't doing anyway, so for me, nothing is going to be changing, and I'll keep running trials and salvaging at merchant shipwrecks. 90 sailing, that unlocks a new crewmate that I'll pick up later. 91 sailing, that unlocks the Fathom Pearl, which is for the new hybrid sailing and fishing method that I don't really care about. 92 sailing, that's the Dragon Cannon, which I won't be making, but more importantly, I haven't been able to do this since I maxed earlier this year. That's halfway to 99, baby! Good morning. Today I'm going to be going out of town for a few days to see some family, but I'll still be trying to get a lot of AFK salvaging in on mobile, so hopefully I can keep the gains coming. I'll see you once I'm back from that. And I am back. Unfortunately, I didn't get quite as much training done as I was hoping, but I do have a couple updates for you. First off, I got to 93 sailing and made quite a bit of progress towards 94, and I also managed to snag the Dragon Cannon Barrel. This thing is very rare. 1 in 18,000 from the highest tier of salvage to be exact, and you use it with a bunch of other stuff to make the Dragon Cannon on the ship. So I think I'd normally just drop this to the main for some money, but because it's so rare, I think I'm going to hold on to it, and maybe sometime in the future I'll go ahead and get the other stuff to make the cannon. I also checked the high scores, and it looks like I dropped all the way to rank 87 over the past few days, so it looks like I have some work to do. 94 sailing, that is the top tier of sails, which I won't be making right now. Big moment coming here at the Gwyneth Glide, that is 500 million total XP on the UIM. Onwards to 1 billion 7 years from now. 95 sailing, that unlocks the final crewmate, Sailor Jacob. 96 sailing for the final helm upgrade, the Dragon Helm. 97 sailing for the final ship upgrade in the game, the Dragon Keel. 98 sailing, one of the few levels that unlocks nothing, but now there's just one more level to go. Good morning, it is December 3rd, and oh boy did Jagex just drop one hell of an update blog. So let's go over the changes real quick, because fortunately it's not ever really gonna impact what I'm doing all that much. First off, they nerfed the crystal extractor by over 50%, so XP rates aren't as dependent on clicking the give me XP button every 60 seconds. They're buffing courier tasks, but they're leaving bounty tasks untouched because they're looking at broader changes to ship combat first, which I think is a good call. And here's where everybody is melting down on social media. They have added some heavy nerfs to shipwreck salvaging, but here's the hilarious part. The biggest nerfs are hitting the busted 30-minute AFK method that UIMs weren't even able to do in the first place because of the arbitrary cargo hold restrictions that only apply to UIM mode. This is just really fucking funny from someone who's been leveling sailing on a UIM this whole time. So those are the big changes, but they've added a couple smaller ones too, including fixing the Horizon's lure keg since it wasn't correctly applying the bonus XP to everything, improving the hitboxes of supplies and Barracuda trials, adding an option to pay a shipwright to repair your boat for you, and also removing the restrictions for XP lamps and tiers of Gothics since those couldn't be used on sailing at launch. And the best part of all this is that it looks like Barracuda trials have been basically untouched balance-wise, so I have a clear shot to 99. Okay, I've been doing some more Gwyneth Glide, and it's looking like my XP per hour has settled around 190 to 200k, because the Crystal Extractor nerf does impact me here, but the 2.5% bonus XP from the Horizon's Lure Keg is counterbalancing that a bit. Alright, it is just about time with this last click of the Extractor. 99 sailing, and my UIM is once again maxed. Checking the high scores here, it looks like I ended up at rank 42 and I was the 55th UIM to max. Well, it does have a little bit of an asterisk there because this is really remaxing and I was really only the 488th UIM to max before sailing got added to the game. So can I really sit here and say that I'm the 55th UIM to max? Hi, I'm the 55th UIM to max. Did you know I'm the 55th UIM to max? Hey, I'm the 55th UIM to max. So here's where you get the Sailing Cape from Brass Hand Harry. The Sailing Cape gives you unlimited teleports to the Pandemonium and also lets you teleport any of your boats to Pandemonium too. And finally, there's one more benefit of the Sailing Cape, which is that it lets you rename your boat and actually choose what the new name is. There is an NPC that can re-roll it for you, but this is the only way you can actually pick a name. And with all of that done, it's time to finally reclaim the reward for maxing, the Max Cape, which I am once again able to use. So now that the 99 sailing grind is done, I guess I'll reflect a bit on how I feel about the skill right now. First off, I want to say that in the context of a new skill being such a big deal, anything neutral to positive is a huge success for Jagex. This was a 2-year development effort with multiple decades worth of hype built around it. And the fact that it didn't immediately crash and burn just from the sheer weight of the expectations around it is a miracle. And even without that context, just judging sailing based on its own merits in 2025, I feel like they really did a great job with the design. There are obviously some issues, but in my opinion, those issues aren't really any bigger than the issues I have with other skills. And yes, everyone's going to zero in on those things because it's still just 2 weeks after launch and everyone's taking the successes as a given and looking for the failures. But taking the update as a whole, I feel like the game is a lot better for sailing being in it. I think at this point, the number one thing that Jagex needs to be thinking about is what to do about ship combat, because that was really the one major area that I felt was subpar on a fundamental level. Besides that, there's mainly just a bunch of smaller things that I'm sure they'll get around to addressing, but they're just not major must-fix problems. One other thing I want to talk about is how the skill interacts with UIM mode, and generally speaking, sailing on a UIM isn't really fundamentally different from sailing on any other type of account, but there's still a few weird things that come up here and there, like ship upgrades being significantly more involved on a UIM, or the arbitrary cargo hold restrictions. They did make one change with the latest update that makes courier task cargo not count towards the limit, which makes it so UIMs are now allowed to actually engage with port tasks in the intended way, which is nice, but it's still kind of weird that Jagex seems to be so insistent on leaving that limit in place for things like salvaging, where there's really nothing in the game that uses the cargo hold for long-term storage, like a bank. But at the highest level, I'm glad that sailing turned out the way it did. This was a fun experience, and I am definitely not fully done with sailing yet on the UIM. Sometime in the future, I would love to go for some of the higher tier ship upgrades and really deck out the boats. But for now, I've been diverted from my main goal for over a month now, and I think it's just about time to get back to some PVM. So like I was saying at the end of the last video, the next time you see me, I will be re-entering the Theater of Blood in search of the final mega rare weapon in the game, the Scythe of Bitter. And I'll see you then.